Ericca Powell never imagined that becoming a secretary would open so many doors. She never imagined all the important people that she would meet, imagine the important work that she would do, the great friendships that would last a lifetime, or the hardships she would have to face. She did not realize at the time she would be witnessing the shaping of modern Africa. While on the Gold Coast, as Ghana used to be known before independence, Ericca Powell worked for the governor and the prime minister, who later became the president of Africa, or Ghana. The agency that Ericca applied for a secretary job is called Crown Agency. She applied with them for a secretary job in northern Rhodesia, now Zambia. In her memoir, Private Secretary, Female Gold Coast, Powell writes, "Early in January 1952, I received an acknowledgement of this application from the Crown agents for the colonies inviting me to London for an interview. As this was about the only reply I've had to dozens of applications, I cautiously reread the advertisement. It was for a 3-year contract, which was fair enough, but reading between the lines, it seems almost certain that I would be pitched into a typing pool. Shuddering at the near miss, I sent a telegram saying that I was ill and unable to attend the interview. A few days later, the Crown agents wrote and asked if I would like to be considered for a private secretary's job in the Gold Coast. The job was advertised as Private Secretary, Female Gold Coast. It carried a salary of £510 a year, plus an overseas allowance of £150. And in addition, the successful candidate would qualify for 3 months paid leave at the end of the year. Just before leaving for the Gold Coast in 1952, the agency that employed Ericca Powell sent a book entitled Hints on the Preservation of Health in Tropical Africa, which gave hints on how to avoid certain tropical diseases in Africa, such as dysentery, which is always a serious disease and avoided only by drinking water that has been boiled, tumbu fly that lay eggs under your skin, which later ooze out as maggots, yaws, black water fever, snake bite, joggers, venereal diseases, alcoholism, sleeping sickness, worms, and typhus. With so many hazards, I made a will, although I had nothing to bequeath to anybody. At least this might avoid any family disputes if compensation were paid in lieu of my safe return." When Ericca first arrived in Africa after a 30-hour flight, she had no idea what lay ahead. Her first job was work with a colonial officer, Mr. Reginald Soloway, later Sir Reginald Soloway. She then later took a job working for His Excellency the Governor Sir Charles Arden Clark. By working for the governor, Ericca attended all the types of fabulous and socially elite parties in which she met many socially elite people. It was there, working for the governor, that she met Prime Minister Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. This began a very platonic relationship, which eventually turned into appointment as private secretary to the Prime Minister. When she first met the Prime Minister, their relationship was very strange. All she really knew about him was he was supposedly anti-white. Nkrumah was now a regular visitor to the governor's office, where after weeks of ignoring Powell, he suddenly invited her to dinner. She didn't know what to do, so she asked the governor for permission. She writes in her memoir, "The Prime Minister invited me to dinner, Sir H.E. H.E. took off his glasses, looked very interested, and smiled. I understand it's a tete-a-tete, sir." H.E. looked very interested and frowned. It's difficult to refuse, sir," I lumbered on. "After all, he is the Prime Minister." H.E. said, "No, you can't very well refuse, but..." Then he stared at me puzzled. "This is very unusual," he said at length. "I don't know any other European who has been invited to the PM's house. I'm just trying to work out why he has singled you out for this honor." "Oh," I said, "do you think it's all right to go, sir?" H.E. smiled kindly. "You know, Ericca, Nkrumah is a very lonely man, a very lonely man." He spoke with affection and pride of a father discussing his son. "Yes," he said, standing up, "you have to go, Ericca, but let me know what happens. Good luck." Sorry. Dinner that night caused them to be very close, so close that not a day went by where they would not talk, and of course the governor wanted to know all about her dinners and phone calls with the Prime Minister. Telling the governor about all their dates, I believe, caused a little bit of jealousy. I say this because she was starting to find out that he was not anti-white at all. They were both finding much-needed companionship in each other, and this made people wonder and rumors spark. The British popular press, in particular, liked to portray the relationship as a real-life version of The King and I. Powell's arrival in Britain with Nkrumah from a Commonwealth meeting in 1957 sparked a frenzy of unfounded rumors that they have even married. Eventually, Powell was asked to leave her position as the governor's secretary, and the governor even suggested that she leave Africa altogether because of the bond she and the prime minister were forming. She went home to visit her mother and family in England, told her mother everything. Ericca's mother agreed with the governor about not returning because of the rumors. Powell, for her part, had returned to England to squash the rumors. This done, she was offered the position that she was to occupy until the 1966 coup that ended Nkrumah's political career in his native land, private secretary to the prime minister. Throughout the years, Powell and Nkrumah's relationship sparked many rumors. She accompanied him everywhere from coast to coast, which didn't help the rumors. Throughout everything that Powell noticed, Dr. Nkrumah just seemed oblivious to everything, especially the rumors. He had this kind of calm to him and did not care of what other people thought. He was there for other reasons. He was there to help and make Africa a better place. He was a man of so many parts and so many moods. However well you believed you knew him, you would one day discover an indefinable something beyond your reach, which would make you wonder if indeed you have ever really known him at all. In 1966, Nkrumah was overthrown and lived in exile in Guinea until he died in 1972. Powell and Nkrumah never lost their bond or closeness, even when he was in exile. They exchanged letters up until the time he died. In 1970, Powell went to work for another African politician, the president of Sierra Leone. Working with Stevens, which she did until 1979, was not always a pleasant experience. Powell wrote, on one of the occasions she was in the presidential compound as rebels raked the building with gunfire. But she valued so much her friendship with Nkrumah to which she dedicated her memoir, dedicating the memory to Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, first president of the Republic of Ghana, a man of vision, courage, and outstanding achievement, to whom I owe the most eventful and exciting years of my life. Thank you. I have another paper by Stephanie Bolke, and it was on June Milne, his research assistant, and his research assistant, what else? Kwame Nkrumah was born September 21st, 1909, to what he did not know would be the world of political career. Nkrumah became the first Prime Minister of Ghana from 1957 to 1960, and then he became the first President of Ghana, First Republic, from 1960 to 1966. He was known as the most influential man of the 20th century, advocate of Pan-Africanism, and the leader of Ghana and its states, the Gold Coast. Nkrumah argued that socialism was a system that would best accommodate the changes that capitalism has brought African value. He was also a major influence on the founding of the Organization of African Unity. Kwame fought for everything he believed in and attempted to rapidly industrialize Ghana's economy. He attempted in many ways to save the economy of Ghana and built the Akasobo Dam, which was very expensive, but today produces most of Ghana's hydroelectric power. Once Kwame was disposed in 1966, Ghana had fallen from one of the richest countries in Africa to one of the poorest. In 2000, listeners voted him Africa's Man of the Millennium to the BBC World Service. In April 1972, at age 62, he died. The most influential people and the most trusted people in his life were two women. Ericca McHale, his private secretary, and June Milne, his research and publisher, were the most important women in his life and followed him step by step through everything. The first inspiration was his British private secretary, Ericca McHale. She was by his side for 10 years with unfaithful loyalty. If you ever wanted to meet Nkrumah, you had to go through his secretary first. Everything I've read about Ericca McHale has shown that she was very loyal towards her boss and helped him through everything. The other loyal woman who he trusted with all of his information and even inherited his wealth. Her name is June Milne. He was his research assistant and then publisher. This Australian-born writer worked closely with Nkrumah, shining a new light on how Kwame Nkrumah met his end. June Milne published a book full of letters and stories from the life of Kwame Nkrumah, titled Kwame Nkrumah, The Conqueror Years. This book of Nkrumah's life and letters is built up from the beginning to his end life. Kwame writes letters to Milne, which are shown in this book. Some letters are taken out due to difficulty in understanding and are not necessary for the book. An example of a passage is KN to JM. The letter I posted to you this morning contained the sad news of the death of my cook, Amoa. He died yesterday, Thursday at 6:30 p.m. He was buried this afternoon. He was the only cook I had ever had during the last 16 years. Poor Nikema has been crying all day. They have been so close. The Guineans have been very good. This letter to June was his fear of the cook's death. Kwame feared that they would hire a new cook and who would poison him in some way. From researching this historic people, I have found out that they would all fight for their country or fight to help one another. Kwame would fight no matter if he was in danger or brought to jail. I read through a few pages of each chapter and saw how close these two were in the letters he wrote to her. In many of the letters, he asked June for different books for him to read, or he would see how her traveling was going, or if she was ready to travel. The relationship between the two seemed very close, which allowed her to receive strong information and stories to portray his life, to shine him in the light. The book did not only consist of letters between Kwame and June, but Shirley Du Bois, Ikao Ashun, R.D. Sina Yaka, Ericca Powell, Pete Milne, and many more wrote other letters. A lot of letters involved the political issues that Kwame was suffering or achieved at this time. When trying to put myself in the body of June Milne, I'm not sure if I would ever be able to become so close to a man like Kwame. This man went through tough times, but fought for his country and led his country to high points. When June Milne and Kwame sent letters back and forth, I would never be able to keep up with everything that is going on throughout his life. The way she carried all the stories, the book showed him in a more depth sight on the life of Kwame. Having the trust in only two women has led Kwame far in the political poll. He has risen to the top of Ghana history and was labeled by June Milne as the greatest African. He was the first to become the Prime Minister of Ghana and the first to be President of Ghana First Republic. He has brought Ghana high up in the economic field by building a dam which contributes to over half the hydroelectric energy in Ghana. He was a great influence on the two trusted women in his life and also kept Ghana running strong. He brought them to independence and was put in jail while doing it. Ghana fell deeply once Kwame left politics. Once Kwame died, he was still in the hearts of these two women. They write about him and still have information to share about his success. Not only was Kwame a strong, influential man, but also so was June Milne. She was by his side through thick and thin, ready to help. She researched his life in and out, given the best research by the man himself. The trust they had in each other led them both to a successful, long life, which will never be forgotten.